being paid for by the New World Order.
Oh, you didn't know?
You ready? Let's go!
Are you ready? I said, are you ready? Feed me. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, thank you for tuning in to this special edition of the Sportswire. My name is Vinny Apicella, Big Daddy Cool Vinny Apicella, that is, and I'm here actually from my job at the Holiday Inn Express in Meriden, Connecticut. I am here because, well, quite honestly, it's our special interview edition of the Sportswire podcast. We have 4 awesome interviews for you today. We have Indy Wrestler Bobby Ocean. We have we have WWE Hall of Famers, the $1 Million Man Ted DiBiase and Tito Santana, and we have 2015 Connecticut Women's Basketball Hall of Fame inductee Jim Bombaci, all right here on the Sportswire special interview show. Couple things of business I want to get out of the way. First off, this coming Sunday, which is the 31st of May 2015, and at First Base Sports Cards and Collectibles on Center Street in Wallingford, Connecticut from 3 to 5 p.m. is 2015 WWE Hall of Fame inductee, the living legend, Larry Zbyszko. Also, you have this Sunday night as well on the 31st. We are going to be live at Falcon Field in Meriden, Connecticut, and that is going to be at a 7 p.m. kickoff time, 6:30 pregame, and that's going to be for the Connecticut Panthers. They're playing a nationally ranking game, so make your way out there. That's Falcon Field in Meriden, Connecticut. Also, new to the docket, Saturday, June 13th, 2 to 4 p.m., M&J Video Games and Collectibles, Queen Street, Southington, Connecticut. It's going to be a meet and greet autograph signing with WWE Hall of Famer Bob Backlund. He came to the other autograph signings just to pop in, but this is actually going to be his time, his autograph session, his meet and greet. So, I want to thank you for listening. And then, again, this coming Monday night, we are going to be doing another live Sportswire episode. And that Sportswire episode is going to be live not only on Fat Cat Radio at 7 p.m., but also on YouTube, youtube.com/SportswireSWE. And we're going to be live right there because you know what? It's that time. And the first Monday of the month, and we're going to have a special guest in studio live. The head coach of the New Haven Venom, Booker T. McJunkin. He will be there with us live at 7 p.m. on myfatcatradio.com and SWE-CT.com and live video feed youtube.com/SportswireSWE. As always, you can check us out on Facebook, facebook.com/SportswireCT, on Twitter, Pinterest, Instagram, Foursquare, Tumblr, SoundCloud, SWE Connecticut. And then, as always, YouTube and Google Plus are Sportswire SWE. You can always email us, sportswire@swe-ct.com or sportswire@myfatcatradio.com. So, check it out. We're going to begin our first interview right now, And it's going to be a short one. It's going to be with the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase. So this is Vinny Apicella with the Sportswire. I'm here with the $1 Million Man, WWE Hall of Famer, the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase. How are you doing today, Mr. DiBiase?
I'm doing great, man. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. First of all, I want to thank you for the opportunity to talk with you. I know you've had a long day, and I'm sure your wrist is probably screaming right about now. But I did want to ask you, how do you view your career, especially being inducted in the Hall of Fame, and how the long career that you had? How do you view it?
Well, being inducted into the Hall of Fame is always, it's a very special moment. It's humbling in many ways because you realize that you're being placed in a select group of people, many of whom I looked up to and admired and idolized, many of whom helped me become a good wrestler. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, being inducted in the Hall of Fame was a very special moment. Career highlights, people always ask me, who was the one guy or what was the one match? And when you wrestle as often as we do, it's impossible to pin it down to one or two even. But the people in my early career that shaped me were guys like Dick Murdoch, a guy named Killer Carl Cox, Terry Funk, Dory Funk, Jack and Jerry Briscoe, Harley Race, very, very, very. Terry Funk is like a brother. Harley Race was a man who tried to save my father's life the night he had a heart attack and he died. And then years later, the first major main event of my life was wrestling Harley when he's a NWA world champion in St. Louis. And so those are the guys, when I go back to the beginning. And Cowboy Bill Watts, who in my estimation was one of the greatest promoters and psychologists of our business. Mm-hmm. Mid-South Wrestling has a cult following. I hear people all the time. They watch the DVDs now and they go, oh my gosh, that was great stuff. So I learned a lot from him. But WWE, people are, who? And I go, well, obviously Hulk Hogan, because that's who I made the most money with. And actually, I don't think Hulk gets enough credit. A lot of people say, well, he really wasn't a great wrestler. I said, yes, he was. I said, what you don't understand is Hulk knew how to work his gimmick. Mm-hmm. I said, now, the best match I ever saw the Warrior have was when Hogan put him over for the belt in Canada. Mm-hmm. That was one of the best matches I ever saw Warrior have. And I think it showed everybody else that Hulk could actually wrestle. He spent a lot of time in Japan, right, but he worked his gimmick, mm-hmm, and he worked it well. Andre the Giant, a friendship and a fondness for him that just I can't even explain. I traveled with him for almost a year, and that rub that Vince gave me with him basically is what shot my character off. Right, it made me top shelf. Right. And I always remember him. Now the guys amongst my peers who that I had some of my favorite matches with. I loved working with Andy Savage. I absolutely loved working with Jake the Snake. Jake was so easy, and again, somebody extremely brilliant when it comes to ring psychology. Made it easy. Mm-hmm. We did the dance well together. Bret Hart's another guy. One of the feuds that I loved the most was back in Mid-South when I first turned heel. Mm-hmm. Junkyard Dog. Junkyard Dog was actually the best man at my wedding. Really? We were close friends, and then Hacksaw Jim Duggan, another guy who I went down the road with, who I kind of helped groom. Steve Williams. Steve Williams, again, I had a tag team with him. After I'd been a heel, I turned babyface again, and we had this tremendous run. This just prior to me, coming to the WWE. So those are kind of the highlights. Mm-hmm. The Saturday night main event when I told the world I'm going to prove that I could buy the belt. Mm-hmm. Andre's going to beat Hulk, and I'm going to buy it. That was another stage setter, mm-hmm, for my career. Yeah. That led into WrestleMania 4, and the rest is history. Absolutely. Now, going back during the Monday Night Wars, you were originally
part of, obviously, with the WWE, and you were the manager of an incoming wrestler at the time known as the Ringmaster, became Stone Cold Steve Austin, and you jumped to WCW. How did you view the NWO storyline that you were part of, and then going with the Steiner brothers, and then eventually, WCW ended up going down? How do you feel? I guess two-part question is, how did you view the NWO storyline and that you were a part of, and how did you view WCW in general after the NWO and all the process of the WCW?
Well, number one, the NWO angle was great. I mean, it's probably one of the hottest. The hottest angle in wrestling wasn't any angle in either of the camps. It was the war between the two companies, and which that was a part of. And in reality, I left WWE not because I was unhappy with the company or unhappy with business, but Vince had decided to put me back on the road, and for me, the road was danger. I had just turned my life around, cleaned my act up, and it's kind of like, if you're going to quit drinking, stay out of the bar. And for me, to stay out of trouble, I had to stay off the road, because road was danger. Road was, none of those guys out there they were still in party mode. Next town, next party, da 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 da. And I didn't want that, and so I knew that I could go to WCW and basically do the same thing I had been doing in WWE, which was managing and commentating, which only required me to be there one day a week and at the pay-per-views. And that's really why I left. Hindsight, I should have talked to Vince. Vince had changed something, but I didn't at the time think that he would. But that was my bad. But when I got there, initially I thought NWO was cool. It was a great angle because it was like these bad guys coming in and running roughshod over this company, and everybody knew they came for the WWE.
Yeah.
But then when they started making the bad guys the cool guys, that's when I said, I'm out of here. Well, the other thing is that Eric Bischoff, when he saw how hot the thing was getting, he decided to interject himself in the position that he'd hired me for. So it's like each week, it's like I'm going out there with everybody, and I have less and less to say. So I finally, one day, I just told him, I said, look, if you think I'm going to walk out there every week and be Virgil, I said, forget it. I said, that's not what you hired me for, and if you want the job, go ahead and take it. You still have to pay me. And I was on a guaranteed contract. So they sent me home for a while, and then they brought me back as the manager for the Steiners, which, at that point I didn't care what they did, And in reality, WCW, when I was there, was the most ill-run, unorganized company I'd ever worked for, and which was evident by the fact that, after Bischoff had bragged that he was going to run Vince out of the business, whose business got shut down and who ended up working for who, right?
Right.
And so not only that, but then he goes to TNA and destroys it.
Right.
So anyway,
Well, thank you very much. I know you got a busy schedule and you're going to be leaving Connecticut, going down somewhere else. I'd like to thank you for your time, Mr. DiBiase, and keep trucking and have a... All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to me. That was just an quick interview, like I said, with the WWE Hall of Famer, the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase. I'd like to thank John Kelleher from M&J Sports Cards and Video Games and Collectibles, and First Base Sports Cards and Collectibles, for helping me set up the interviews with Ted DiBiase and Tito Santana, both WWE Hall of Famers. I was supposed to get an interview with Tatanka, and I actually drove him from the hotel to his to the autograph signing, and we had a great conversation in the car. I could kick myself for not having the recorder on, because it was just a great conversation, just going over his career, going over how he views today's product, NXT, a whole bunch of stuff. But unfortunately, I did not have the recorder on. But either way, it was great just to meet these guys, and it's humbling because they're just regular guys like us, like me, and they just lived out their dreams. Tatanka was saying that he had been in wrestling for a year before he got the call to the WWE, which is amazing because most guys, look at Kevin Owens in NXT. It took him 15 years just to get to NXT, and now he's, going to be on Elimination Chamber facing John Cena this week. but for Tatanka to be there be in the industry for 1 year and then just go right to the WWE, that's fantastic. He's also training a former NXT alum, Tyler Garceau, and he was there at the autograph signing as well. He was ready to do an interview as well, but the timing just didn't work out. And, he'd been in NXT. They told him to work the Indies for a while, hone his craft, and then go back. So he's currently working the Indies. So, again, I'd like to thank John Kelleher for setting those up. So, without further ado, let's get to Tito Santana's interview. Again, he's WWE Hall of Famer El Matador Tito Santana. I got him at M&J Video Games and Collectibles, Queen Street, Southington, Connecticut. So check them out. And so here's the interview now with El Matador Tito Santana. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is Vinny Apicella with the Sportswire. I'm here with WWE Hall of Famer El Matador Tito Santana. How are you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic, thank you.
I just wanted to ask you a couple questions. You've had a pretty long career, and you've been honored by going to the WWE Hall of Fame. From an outsider's point of view, how would you see your career?
Well, I see my career as a dream. I'm living my dream, and I'm still living my dream. Wrestling fans throughout the world have always, supported Tito Santana, and it doesn't get any better than that.
What were some of some of your favorite storylines to be a part of?
Well, probably, the longest feud in professional wrestling in the WWF was Tito Santana versus Greg the Hammer Valentine. Mm-hmm. So that has to be my number one.
Awesome. When you had your change to El Matador, how easy was that to adapt to that gimmick?
It wasn't easy. I went to Mexico and I traded to become a matador and learn the trait. I wasn't too crazy about the gimmick, but the boss spoke and I did whatever he asked me to do. And unfortunately, it didn't turn out as good as I would have hoped that it would have.
Okay, thank you. One other question: what advice would you give to people that are looking to start in wrestling?
Well, get your education first. Mm-hmm. Very few people make it to the top, and there's a lot more that don't make it. And if you don't have your education, you're going to end up struggling for the rest of your life.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. This is Vinny Apicella again with the Sportswire. I want to thank John Kelleher for setting me up with those two interviews of the $1 Million Man Ted DiBiase as well as El Matador Tito Santana, both WWE Hall of Famers and, of course, legends. And coming up this Sunday, May 31st, from 3 to 5 p.m. at First Base Sports Cards and Collectibles on Center Street in Wallingford will be the living legend, WWE Hall of Famer, the living legend Larry Zbyszko, from 3 to 5 p.m. as well. And he will be signing autographs. I may not be there because that night at 6:30 is going to be pregame for the Connecticut Panthers. And they're going to kickoff time is going to be 6 o'clock. And I'm not sure who they're facing, but it does have national ranking tied with it. And that's going to be at Falcon Field in Meriden, Connecticut. So, without further ado, here's the interview with Indy Wrestler Bobby Ocean. Ladies and gentlemen, I am Vinny Apicella, Big Daddy Cool Vinny Apicella with the Sportswire. I'm sitting here right now in Bethany, Connecticut, the NEW Big Bethany Bash. I'm sitting here with Bobby Ocean. How you doing today?
I'm doing good, man. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you for taking the time out to have a quick interview with us. Talk to me a little bit about your upcoming match. I see you're in a tag match tonight.
Yeah, tonight it's myself and Dan the Man. I've known Dan for a while now. We've been rivals and we've been teammates. So tonight we're teaming up against the Battle Brothers, who are the NEW Tag Team Champions. And the fact of the matter is, we want the belts. Last month we were in this very same building, and we took it to them to where the fans wanted a rematch, and the fans get the rematch tonight. And hopefully, we can correct the wrong with taking the belts off the battles.
Great. All right. We will definitely be rooting for you tonight. So talk to me, dummy. How you got interested in becoming a professional wrestler?
I've been in the wrestling business for now almost 15 years now. And, it was something I wanted to do for a while. And I didn't know how to get involved. And then I saw a flyer. I was at a WWE Raw show. And, it was a flyer for Jason Knight's House of Pain Pro Wrestling Dojo out in Waterbury. And so I went there and, saw the training and said, wow, I like this. And I had no idea what independent wrestling was. Just like a lot of people, all they know is WWE and TNA and whatever, Ring of Honor nowadays. But, I had no idea what the independents were and went to a show and fell in love. I'm like, wow, they have this locally and in my state, in my town. So, I started, working the grind, doing ring crew, selling merchandise, doing sound, helping out backstage, stuff like that. At the time, I was training. And I didn't have my first match till I was 18, and I was at a place in New Britain. I forgot what the club was called, and I was known as as Debo. And it was in a little gauntlet deal, but that was like my first taste. And then actually my first match was in the now it's not running anymore, but Defiant Pro Wrestling. It was actually me and Brian Anthony in the singles, and that wasn't too good, but and now I got to a point where I worked my way up, and with driving, using MapQuest directions in the snow in 3 hours and not dealing, not getting paid a lot, but I did it because I loved wrestling, and now I'm fortunate enough to where I'm in front of big crowds, like Northeast Wrestling and Big Time Wrestling and all the other independents that are around the areas, and being able to travel. So I'm very fortunate for what I have, and I'm very appreciative of the people that took me underneath their wings. Guys like Kurt Adonis and Jason Knight and Mercedes Martinez and Fred Curry Jr. and the list can go on and on. Bull Dread, Ron Zombie, guys like that. When I was coming up, they were already wrestling and doing their thing. So I greatly appreciate everybody that's given me an opportunity, a chance to live up my dream.
Great. So, speaking of your dreams, what's one of the most rewarding things that you see being an indie wrestler? I mean, besides the freedom to do so many different organizations and not tied to just one, but what's one of the biggest rewarding things that you see being an indie pro wrestler?
I think the love and appreciation from the fans. Before, like now my name's always chanted anywhere I go, which I greatly appreciate. Before that wasn't happening. It was crickets chirping, and but now I thank the fans, and when they say, hey, great match, or man, you'll get them next time, or you're my favorite wrestler, or even when it's, hey, can I take a picture with you? Can you sign this? Those are the things that I greatly appreciate. Or even having a veteran watch my match and pick it apart and tell me, hey, you did well, but maybe these things you can fine tune. Those things are very rewarding because to me, fans, they have the right to do what they want. And if they want to sit on their hands and not cheer me, that they can do that. If a veteran doesn't want to watch my match, he has that right not to. But I appreciate those things that that the fans and the veterans that have come before me are able to do for me. So
growing up, were you a fan of wrestling?
Oh, I loved it. I was WCW, WCW and WWF, and even ECW when it was on I think it was ESPN at 2 a.m. in the morning. I would set my alarm clock to watch it, and record it with the VHS tapes. Now nobody knows what that is anymore because there's a pre-recording. But I loved it. I was a big Macho Man Randy Savage fan. Undertaker fan, Ultimate Warrior fan. Hulk Hogan was okay to me. But I loved it. WCW was guys like Sting, Ron Simmons, Benoit, Guerrero, Jericho. Just even Steamboat and Austin back then, and Pillman and the Four Horsemen. But I was a big fan. Still, I'm a big fan. I still watch everything, and from UK wrestling to stuff here in the States, to Japan, to Mexico. I watch everything and try to say, oh, that's cool, or oh, that's maybe I'll try this or I'll try that. But I love wrestling.
Great. So, who have been some of the veterans that, as you've taken your journey through this time of the Indies and everything and coming up in your career, who have been some of the veterans that have been able to give you the most input into your matches, that, whether they were on a one-off on the card or, that just took the time to sit with you and say, to critique your matches, as you said?
Well, Paul Bear was one of them. He would always watch my matches when I was doing shows up in Boston, and I remember I was like, wow. I remember Dylan Cage telling me, like, hey, you're one of Percy's favorites, and I'm like, oh shit, like wow. Him, I'd say Shane Douglas is another. I'm trying to think of somebody who else was always around. God, I can't even think off the top of my head right now. But as far as names go, but anybody I've been able to work with, even like Homicide and Fit Finley and Rhino and even McFoley, I will say this, Jake Roberts, forgot. Jake Roberts always, anytime he was at a show that I was doing, he would critique what I was doing or try to give me, different psychology and things like that. And I mean, hey, he's the master of this, the master of psychology.
Absolutely.
So, it's gospel.
Oh, definitely, absolutely. I mean, I know. Now, do you subscribe to the WWE Network for $9.99 a month?
Well, actually, it's like 10 something.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do actually. I'm very, very in tune about what's happening, especially with NXT, which is, it's incredible. It's amazing.
Absolutely, I agree.
And just everybody there. I even watched the old school stuff like the Starcades and I remember I saw I think it was Magnum TA and Tully Blanchard do a cage match, and where the finish was which was, I think, brilliant. Where I think Baby Doll, was it Baby Doll? Yeah, Baby Doll threw a chair in the ring, and like Magnum TA caught it and broke it and stuck it in Tully's head, and he's like, I quit. I'm like, wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, you don't see a lot of that anymore.
You don't see the old school stuff, which like I think I was talking with Tatanka about this last week, about just old school things I wanted to try, and he was like, man, nobody's doing that anymore. You should do it, and which hopefully maybe at some point in time I can. But
do you find it hard? Do you find it hard to find guys that are willing to do some of the old school stuff?
Not really. I think that a lot of the guys like it just because it's old school and it's different. I mean, not for nothing. I mean, when when you have a match that's a lot of impactful moves, and they're Superman all of a sudden. Not to say it's like, can yes, they are Superman at that point in time, but as a fan, I'm gonna sit there and wonder, hey, when's it gonna happen? Who's actually gonna give up? Compared to an old school finish where it's like, whoa, that came from out of nowhere. I didn't expect that. It wasn't high impact, but it was different. I look at it almost like as movies. where an action movie is boom, 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 to where you have a suspense thriller, and it's the build, and
that's the psychology.
And it's something like Alfred Hitchcock movies. I'm a big fan of Alfred Hitchcock, and I was watching his stuff on Netflix, and it was like, where you thought, okay, this person's about to get about to be done for. It winds up, the swerve is, the person that was trying to commit the crime, or whatever the case is, or it was this, but she was the mastermind behind it all, or whatever. So I kind of look at it as in that sense. But hey, always a wrestling work, high impactful, super kicks like crazy. They work. They work for, they work. It depends on your crowd. Every crowd is different. When I went to like up here, we're used to a lot of high impactful stuff, and to where we're Superman. We're like Mario catching the flower, and all of a sudden, we've got these ultimate superpowers. But and down south, it's more of old school psychology. I got to wrestle in Tennessee and West Virginia, man, and watching like guys like George South and Jimmy Valiant, Boogie Woogie Man wrestle. These guys are like 60-something years old.
Oh yeah.
How old they are, and I'm like, holy shit.
Yeah.
They're not doing much of anything, and they've got the crowd.
Yeah.
To where some of us are just doing a lot of high impactful stuff and killing ourselves. I think it all depends on what your crowd is, to be honest, too.
Do you think that's the Northeast thing, especially since Philadelphia was the birthplace of ECW and, the New York-Philadelphia corridor and the Northeast in general? You think that's the style up here?
I don't think it's a style. I think that, we're all different. Even my style is impactful, I'm not going to lie. I think that the style is very versatile, because down in Philly you have Chikara, you have Ring of Honor, you have CZW. In New York you have NYWC and House of Glory and Lotus and all these different places. So I think that I think every place is versatile. I don't think the scene up here is very high impactful. I think you have some guys that do different things, and everybody has their niche, and each fan, it's like, we're every single person, in this locker room here is not going to be everybody's cup of coffee, but, we'll taste good to somebody.
So, do you have any interest, if let's say you got the call in the next, month or so, do you have any interest in going into NXT?
I hope I get the call. Yeah, I do, actually. I really, really do. That's one place I would love to be. I've done Ring of Honor tryouts and loved it. And just to say that you do get your money's worth when you do go there. It's not a thing where some guys just take your money and it's like, oh, okay, thanks, and whatever. There's guys that have gotten tryouts from that place, from that camp. So it's not it's not any false pretenses or anything like that. But with TNA, I did their gut check before the whole TV thing even happened, and and that was cool. That was a cool experience. Now I want to be seen in at number one now. I would also love to try Japan. That's a big goal of mine too. So but I definitely would love to be in NXT, and props to Sasha Banks for what she's doing out there, and holding down the women's division down there, and hopefully she gets called up to Raw, I hope, or SmackDown.
In my opinion, just from what I've seen, I think NXT is a better brand than either Raw or SmackDown. And it's funny because I was talking about this in my last podcast, is that the women down in NXT are just so much more athletic that it brings me back to the days of like Lita and Trish Stratus, where those divas, if you want to call them that, those women could main event.
Or even the Lundra Blaze and Bull Nakano.
Yeah, absolutely.
Go back. I think that NXT is the thing. I think it's also a thing where there's not a lot of time.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when you look at Raw and SmackDown, the guys don't really get a lot of time to do what they need to do. I think with NXT, you're allowed that time. You're allowed a chance to do your thing instead of having 3-4 minutes or whatever. And with the Divas, there's so much talent. They have so much talent up there. I wish they could use every single diva on the show, or at least, how SmackDown seems like they can implement all their roster.
Mm-hmm.
Back when Paul Heyman was running it, you would see everybody on there.
Yeah.
And you would get, I think it would be, an hour, 2 hours?
Mm-hmm.
You would get everybody in there.
Yeah.
Now it's like, with Raw, I can't really see everybody I want to see.
Mm. No, you're right. Absolutely.
I mean, Zack Ryder was, up there, and, now I really don't see too much of him, but, But hey, I'm not there, so I can't really speak.
Right. Now, you being in a tag team match tonight, I noticed, especially on like Raw and SmackDown in the WWE, the tag team is almost a lost art, where they try to bring them back every so often, but how do you like doing the tag team matches?
I'm more of a singles guy, but I'm as I've always said, I'm here for what the company needs me for. And tag teams are fine with me. I have no problem with it. I think also it's also a great thing because it lets you it's something different, and it's almost the outside looking in to where I'm not in there beating somebody up. I can actually watch and see what's happening, or watch out for this or watch out for that. I can tell my partner things afterwards, or I can watch out for certain things that he may not notice. So I like it all. I mean triple threats, 4-ways, singles, tags. Doesn't matter. I'm still gonna do my thing.
Yeah. So what's one of the craziest gimmick matches you've ever been in?
Craziest gimmicks. Well, I'm just trying to think. I don't think I've been in any real crazy gimmicks. I've been in street fights, a lot of street fights, and I think TLC matches, which was that's different. Those are always somewhat fun, but I think in cages, but that's really about it. Nothing too crazy.
So, and I'll be honest, I've been just getting into the indie scene now, and how are the cage matches and the TLC matches and gimmick matches run in the indies? It's like, are you guys calling it in the ring on your own, or do you have certain things that you go through beforehand, or is it almost like just reading the crowd and see what goes on?
A mixture of different things. Sometimes it may be a couple of ideas, and then I'm mostly ad-libbing. So, that's mainly it. I can't really. For those matches, you can't really prepare. Mm-hmm. You really can't. You can prepare for a couple of ideas and things, but you can't prepare the entire entire deal. That's too much. And then of course there's always something that's going to go wrong, and and if you can't do it, you can't stick to the script.
So, what are some of your pre-match rituals on the day? The day of the event. What are some things you do to prepare yourself?
Sometimes the gym. Sometimes the gym is always a must. You mean like before I go out?
Yeah, like when you're in the locker room, when you're getting yourself mentally and physically psyched and prepared to go out there.
Usually I try to find a quiet area and try to meditate and, get everything in my head down that, is about to happen, and get mentally focused and prepared, and, But then, you start to get the butterflies, your heart starts pounding fast, and you're walking up those stairs, and you're right behind the curtain, and you're like, oh, you're waiting, and it's like, oh, okay, time to go, and, it's almost like you transform. And it's an adrenaline rush, I wouldn't change this for anything.
Now, so what's your theme song that you use going out to the ring?
Yeah, a lot of people have asked me that. It's Mobb Deep, Put 'Em in Their Place. This song that we have now is Public Enemy. I don't know what it's called, but I don't like it because it's not my thing. I can't really get into it, but it is what it is. But the one thing I will say is that I don't this irrigation thing, which I'll be honest, the name I'm not too keen on. I'm very I'm not too keen on when it's the stereotypes and stuff like that, and let's just call it what it is, to be honest. It's almost like I don't want to be compared to the Nation of Domination or some black militant group or anything like that. To me, me and Dan are just two wrestlers that want to be noticed, that want to be those guys. It's not a racial thing. It's not, and this is, I want everybody to know this is not a racial thing. This is not dropping dead weight or anything like that. But that's the one thing I want everybody to know about this, about what Dan and I are doing. This is not a parody of Nation of Domination or Black Panthers or anything racial at all.
It seems like the internet buzzes all the time whenever there's a stable or tag team that sets up of purely black wrestlers, like when they started the New Day in the WWE.
Big Down Clan and TNA or
right.
Which I did see that promo that MVP cut. Wow. Yeah, I think that's always going to be the thing of when you have a whole bunch of black guys or minorities banding together, is that there's always going to be that common thread. I particularly don't like it because it's almost like we're stuck in that stereotype. It's just like, hey, am I going to come out with a boom box and be bopping and pop locking and doing all this stuff? No, I'm not. I'd rather be something different than what somebody wants me to portray me to be.
So do you think it was a good idea back in the 90s, this being the anniversary of Owen Hart's passing, do you think it was a good or bad idea to put Owen Hart with the Nation of Domination as the Black Heart during that storyline?
I think it was funny. I think it was cool because it was almost like he was like Eminem before Eminem was even around. But it made sense though.
Yeah.
I think the group kind of transitioned from where they were Black Militant, Black Panther type of deal to where it's like, hey, we're just all about opportunity. We want an opportunity. We want a chance. I think that was that, and of course now WWE has done this thing of where, or any wrestling company nowadays, where you band a whole bunch of Mexicans and call them Mexicool, and you band a whole bunch of black people together and call them the New Day, and I just don't understand why they can't be. I understand it, but I just don't understand why they can't be guys that just want a fair chance like everybody else.
Absolutely.
Everybody else is getting. But hey, a gimmick's a gimmick. So
yeah,
you run with it. You do what you gotta do.
Absolutely. All right, one final question. You think you're going to take home the titles tonight?
No doubt. Is that even a question? No, we definitely are, man. Listen, we took it to their asses. They knew it. The fans knew it. Just like what I said in that particular spot over there. I said tonight everything burns. It did. And I think that the fans were put on notice that, hey, we're not a joke. We're not a gimmick. We're real. This isn't Mickey Mouse stuff, as Arnold Schwarzenegger would say. This is the real deal, and I think it's time for new tag champions. I mean, let's face it. They had, I believe it was Stevie Stamos and Brian Anthony helped them win the gold from what I saw in the video. So, I mean, if you can't do it on your own, how can you call yourself champions? I don't see, New England had the Deflated football?
Yeah. Yeah. Deflategate.
Yeah, never mind.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is Bobby Ocean with Big Daddy Cool Vinny Apicella. Thank you for your time. Good luck tonight, champ, and future champ. And we'll talk to you soon. All right, as always, I want to thank Bobby Ocean for that interview. It was a great time at the NEW Big Bethany Bash this past Saturday. He does work for a majority and quite a few promotions around the New England area. He is from Hartford, Connecticut. And, he was a great guy. Just talking about, his career and what he looks to accomplish in the future. And also about that match with Dan the Man that he had against Battle Brothers that Saturday. They ended up losing. But, they're definitely a force to be reckoned with. Okay, we have our final interview of the night. It is going to be the 2015 Connecticut Women's Basketball Hall of Fame inductee, Jim Bombaci. He's a good friend of mine. He decided to come on the show and give us a glimpse into his career and a glimpse into the night that he went into the Hall of Fame for no other, no other way to say it, but for the night he went into the Hall of Fame and accepted going in among the upper echelon of women's basketball coaches and the like. All right, so without further ado, here is the interview with 2015 Connecticut Women's Basketball Hall of Fame inductee, Jim Bombaci. All right, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Vinny Apicella. I am here with the Sportswire, and I'm actually sitting here right now with one of the newest inductees. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Vinny Apicella. I am here with the Sportswire, and I have an interview with the newest member of the Connecticut Women's Basketball Hall of Fame, Jim Bombaci. How are you doing today?
I'm doing fine. Yourself, Vinny?
I'm doing well. So I want to first of all, I want to thank you for allowing me to talk to you and to give some light into your career because you've been at it for quite a while.
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you for asking me to do this. I did it for 36 years. I did take 2 years off in the middle at one point, but I had a great time doing it.
Good. I'm glad to hear it. So where were the high schools that you coached at?
My first 4 years were at Hamden High School. I got my start there thanks to an AD who gave me a chance, and from there I went to Daniel Hand High School. I believe I was there totally 25 years, and then the last 8 years, I was at Haddam Killingworth High School.
Okay, so Hamden, the Green Dragons, that's my alma mater. I graduated there in 99. What years were you there?
Just a little before that. I actually taught there from 70 to 79. I coached basketball there from 75 to 79.
Oh, okay, great. So how does it feel to be retired now?
Well, I never looked at it as a job, so it almost doesn't feel like a retirement. It was my hobby. It's the thing I love to do. I did retire from teaching 11 years ago. So basically, I really enjoyed those last few years because I didn't have the everyday grind of teaching that I had to work around in order to coach. But now not having the coaching and so forth, I guess it was time because I'm not really missing it that much. I'm ready to move on, let's put it that way.
Okay, great. Glad to hear it. So it's obviously an honor for you to go into the Hall of Fame and be recognized by not only your peers, but also the state of Connecticut for your achievements. Take me through that day and what went into preparing your speech, which we will have a clip for later on. But just walk me through that day and butterflies in your stomach, or.
I'm not really sure how I felt that day. I know when the day was over, it was like, did it really happen? The speech I had done several days before, so I was ready for that. And it was kind of a normal day. And then we were on our way there, my wife Connie and myself, and got there. All our kids were there, some of our grandchildren. Some of my players from the 80s were there. Player from 2004 was also there. My assistant coaches, and seeing all of them. But the neat thing was I got to see some coaches and referees that I hadn't seen in years. Some as many as 25 and 30 years that I hadn't seen. I had a player who was being inducted whose sister played for me back at Hamden. Realizing how old I am when I found out she was now 50 years old kind of put me in my place, but it was neat seeing her because I had not seen her since I had left. All in all, there was just a whole lot of people I got to see, ADs from the past. The next thing I knew, the evening was over. And I'm still kind of just pinching myself. It's an honor it's hard for me to accept, to be honest with you. I watched all these women back in the 70s who fought to get Title IX. These are the ladies I was coaching against, getting the job, that were refereeing around me, and all the hard work they had done. Because if they hadn't done all that hard work, I would have never have had a team to coach. Wouldn't have been in the Hall of Fame. Everything I've gotten is because of them.
That's great. So what was going back to your career, what was the majority of your coaching style, and dealing with, obviously being in high school sports, your turnover goes every 4 years. What was your coaching style to keep up your girls' motivations going from year to year, and just the overall style of play?
From year to year, as a high school coach, you don't get to choose your style. The players you have choose your style. You might have a big, slow team one year, and the next year you have a short, fast team. So basically, you waited to see what you had. Obviously, you knew what was coming. Sometimes someone would move in or someone would move out. But for the most part, you had to look at your team and decided what you needed to do for that group of kids. So you never really got to choose the style.
Okay, so you saw your team. How soon would you see your team? Would you have a general idea during the summer or during the beginning of the school year?
Well, usually, they came up through JV, so you knew most of them. Every now and then you'd get thrown a curve because one of your better players would move out, or sometimes you'd get one move in. You saw them play in summer league. That also helped you to see how they moved and worked together. And so that's kind of as the process through the JV to varsity. You knew what was going to be there coming, and you'd spend that summer figuring out how you thought you were going to run with them. And of course, you talk with the kids themselves too.
Great. Okay, so fast forwarding a little more, do you have any thoughts about what you might do if somebody came up to you, let's say, and wanted you to write a book on your career? Would you, and what would be the overall theme of the book?
Well, if I wrote a book on my career, it would probably be a great book to take to bed because it would probably put you to sleep. Never even thought about it. I can tell you there was a lot of crazy moments. Someone once said to me, why didn't you write, when I would tell them a story, and I'd say there's probably more stories I've forgotten, why didn't you write some of those stories down? But there were some great moments, whether they be great moments for a kid personally or moments for a specific team, or just funny things that happened along the way. Probably for me, the team that I would emphasize the most, I did have one year where we were 1-19, and that was probably one of the best seasons I ever had.
Really?
I had a bunch of kids that just worked hard at practice. did everything they were supposed to. They could be down 20 points with 2 minutes to go, and they're diving all over the floor. They were young. They had some talent, but they were young. I don't think there was a senior on the team. Most of the starters were freshmen, and I think a sophomore. And they came, as the years went by, they got better, obviously. But it's how hard they worked. They really wanted to be out there, and that really made it enjoyable.
That's great, and it's good to hear what's enjoyable to a coach, because you hear stories all the time in the media of, what high school or youth coaches, are trying to be Tommy Lasorda out there, or trying to be a Phil Jackson. And I think it's great to hear you say how your best season was one of the worst statistical seasons, being 1-19, and that must have humbled you out a little bit.
First of all, I saw it coming. Right? You just know it's coming. And as I looked at when I got this, was told about the award, I realized, and I've known this for most of my coaching career, there are coaches out there that coach for 10 and 15 years and never had a winning season. I realized how blessed I was that I had good players, because I don't care how good a coach you are. If you don't have players, you're not going to win ball games. That does not mean you're not going to have an enjoyable season, but you're not going to win ball games. And there's coaches, like I said, that might have coached for 15 years, never even had a winning season, but they're great coaches because their kids had a great time and they enjoyed themselves. So this award comes because I was blessed with great players for a lot of different years. There is some things you can do as a coach by working with a feeder program and so forth. But you got to be lucky. I mean, you can't make a girl 6'3".
Right.
She's got to walk into your gym. You can't make a kid fast and quick. She's got to walk into your gym.
So who are some of the standout players that you've coached over the years, and have any of them gone on to, let's say, a number one ranked college program, maybe like a UConn or Tennessee, and then maybe even further into the WNBA or even the old AB, I believe it was the ABA. Did you have any standout players like that?
I had two young ladies back before all the ABA and all that other stuff came around. After they graduated, they went off. One of them played in Germany for a couple of years, and the other one played in, I'm drawing a blank exactly where. For some reason, England is coming in my head, but she played in two different places. But they had a great time over in Europe, playing in the European women's leagues. They got paid some good money, and they practiced and played only 3 or 4 days a week, and it was all in one clump, so they'd have a group of days, and they went and saw Europe and had a great time. Somewhere around 40 kids I had that went off and played in college, some Division I's, obviously none at UConn. That's a different level. But I've had some kids that have gone on and had some real great college careers.
Oh, great. Do you feel, you mentioned that you had two players go off to Europe. Do you feel that maybe Europe was or is more advanced in terms of women's sports and sports in general when it comes to equality, in terms of being more advanced than the U.S.?
That I can't answer you. I don't know what it's like today. I can only tell you back then, and we're talking the early 80s. Okay. That was the only place for a girl to go if she wanted to continue.
Okay. That's great. So what, here's an off-the-wall question, but if you had to choose someone to play you in a movie about your career, who would you choose?
There isn't anybody ugly enough. I never ever even thought about it. I would not even know who to guess. I'm drawing a total blank on that. I can't think of anything. Are there any actors with Jimmy Durante? Do you even know who that is? He's an old actor, and he lived on the fame that he had a big nose. So Jimmy Durante. There you go.
Okay, great. Jim, I want to thank you for being my guest this week. Is there any other closing words you want to say to anybody who's starting in the coaching, whether it be girls basketball, women's basketball, or sports in general, coaching high school sports? What advice would you give to a starting coach?
Don't take yourself too seriously, and the kids are going to give more to you than you're ever going to give to them.
That's great. One more question I just thought of. What have you learned throughout this whole process of your career? What have you learned just being a teacher and also a high school sports coach? Some of the lessons that maybe you didn't think about beforehand, but then the teams you've coached have actually taught you.
I talked about this in my my talk at the dinner. Growing up Sicilian, there were men and there were women. These young ladies and the women coaches and referees that I met through the years, I've obviously grown to have a whole different perspective of the men and women and their roles and what they want. Just to give you an idea, the gentleman who was in charge of girls' sports at Hamden wouldn't let me play 20 games. He would only let us play 13 games because he quoted from a book that said girls are not physically or mentally capable of handling the rigors of sports, sports competition. Mm-hmm. And he really believed that. So we can only do the girls fought for it. That's the first thing I ever watched girls fought for it. They went to the school. They were mad that they can only play 13 games since it had been expanded to 20. And we were not under the athletic department. We were under the phys ed department. And this was the leader of the phys ed department that believed this, that they were not capable, mentally or physically, of handling the rigors of athletic competition. Mm-hmm. So they got it changed to get, and it was girls basketball there that went first. We got put under the athletic director. And the athletic director, the first thing he did is he gave us the 20 games, and he went out and bought them all new uniforms. Wow. So these young ladies went out and fought for something and got it. And I learned how much they loved to play and how good they were and so forth. I always thought what it would be like if this athletic director, I'm sure he's not around anymore because he was up in age back then, if he ever got a chance to play one-on-one with, let's say, Breonna Stewart, if he still had that same thought, play against her when he was in his 20s and find out exactly how good women have become. Yeah. So that's where I grew the most, of understanding. I had a very slanted upbringing and how to look at things, and now I have a total different view of it.
What are some of the sports that you watch on your free time, like on a Sunday afternoon after church, and or any other day during the week? Now that you're retired and you have all the time on your hand, what are some of the things you enjoy watching, enjoy doing?
I'm a big-time Yankee fan. I watch a lot of Yankees.
That's a big plus.
Okay, I watch the Giants. So those are the two major sports that I watch. I used to watch the Knicks, but I can't handle pro basketball anymore. I used to watch the UConn girls, but the games are over after the first 5 minutes. It's awful tough to watch a game there. Yeah. So it's nice when they have a close one. You can get into it. So that's basically it. Okay. But I play softball in an old man's league, and I play basketball in an old man's basketball league. We're all over 60, so that keeps me busy. And I got other things I do.
Okay, great. As a coach, what was your outlook on the whole Alex Rodriguez PED scandal problem that happened last year? Being he was obviously suspended for the year, and now that he's back, how do you view the even bigger than Alex Rodriguez, but the whole PED in general in pro sports, and what's your outlook on it?
I think it's just sad. When I watched as a kid growing up, guys like Mickey Mantle and Ted Williams, Joe DiMaggio, and those guys, they had to work during the off season because they didn't make enough money. And now you've got these guys with all this money and everything, and they have to cheat to get where they're going. I'm a Yankee fan, but I don't like that Rodriguez, and I also don't like that Barry Bonds broke some very big sports records. And I know from day-to-day life those sports records don't mean anything, but it's the symbol of it, that here's guys who cheated, and they're going to take something away from a couple of guys who, worked for the right way. And all the other records are getting knocked down because guys cheated.
Yeah. I can honestly say, in my opinion, the only record that fell to an honest player would be Lou Gehrig's streak with Cal Ripken Jr.
Yeah, that's just about it. The only difference there is Cal had something to shoot for. Mm-hmm. Lou probably understood I better not miss a day because Willie Pep missed a day, and I've been there ever since. So he understood that. But these, you're right. These records that are being broken by people, it bothers me. You got Hank Aaron; he holds the home run record, and Babe Ruth is second. There's just no doubt in my mind. As far as home runs in a year, Ruth was 60 and 61. I'm just drawing a blank. I can't think. Roger Maris. I don't know how you even put these other guys in the same category. Cheating to win is just. I mean, if you think about it, as a high school coach, that's the one thing you're trying to train your kids. Mm-hmm. If you're going to win, go out there and win. You're going to win because you worked hard, because you dove on the floor, because at practice you ran those extra sprints. You took those extra foul shots. You took those extra shots. Not because you went and stuck yourself with a needle or threw pills down your throat.
All right. Well, thank you. That's coming from a former high school coach who is in the Connecticut Women's Basketball Hall of Fame. And I want to thank you again, Jim. Just thank you. It's been a great talk.
Well, thank you very much for having me here. I will tell you that I just found out that I'm going into the Hand High School Hall of Fame in the fall. So the second one has come my way, and I'm just humbled by it, and just don't see myself side by side with some of those people. Let's put it that way.
Well, that's great. You heard it here first exclusively. Jim Bombaci going now into the Hand High School Hall of Fame. So thank you very much, Jim, and this will be edited and up within the next couple of weeks. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for listening to this special Sportswire podcast, the interviews. We gave you 4 jam-packed interviews for you today. I think it's great that these celebrities are willing to take their time out from whatever just to give us interviews. And we'll be working on more in the future. So, as always, you can check out our websites, which is SWE-CD.com and also myfatcatradio.com. Drew a brain fart there. Also, Facebook.com/SportswireCT, Facebook.com/FatCatRadioEnterprises, and you could, definitely friend us, like us, all that on Twitter and Pinterest and Foursquare and Instagram. It's all SWE Connecticut. For Google Plus and YouTube, you will go to Sportswire SWE. For next Monday night, June 1st, I want to let everybody know we are going to be live, not only on myfatcatradio.com, but also on youtube.com/Sportswire SWE. At 7 p.m., we'll be doing a simulcast, and make sure you get a chance to be creative with us as we come in and take over the time slot between 7 and probably 8:30 p.m. on that night. All right, so thank you very much for listening. Thank you for downloading us. You can also get us on iTunes, which is itunes.com. You open up iTunes, you go to select your podcast, and then type in Sportswire. So that's all there is to it. So, folks, I've had a great time. Thank you for listening. And check us out any way we can. And just remember to tune in for the live show, Monday, June 1st at 7 p.m. Thank you very much, folks. Have a great day.